So with your 98 hours, you're probably already busy. Everyone in here, I'm sure you're busy. You've got work stuff going on, you've got your business, you've got family. You gotta find a way to free up some time. You know, Ryan Holiday talked earlier today about saying no. And so you've got to kind of work this into your schedule also. There's probably things you're doing right now that you may have to say no to. I know a guy that's in our mastermind, by the way, that was not here, but he was saying, he was trying to build a software business on the side, but his e-commerce business had this massive runway that was easy for him to capitalize on. The software business maybe could have been very successful, but very uncertain. He'd never done it before, wasn't necessarily like that excited about it. And so he decided, after we ran through a similar exercise a few months ago, he decided really to say no, at least for now, to that software business, because he had this easy runway in his e-commerce business, because every time he'd be working on that, this thing probably wouldn't be growing, at least where he's at now, because he kind of does everything himself. His business is super lean and efficient, but it would probably start going down if he was focusing over here. So he kind of had to say no to that. So if you've got multiple businesses, multiple brands, those are some big items to think about. But if you know you're doing stuff that's kind of wasting your time, think about some of those things that you can say no to. Like, what is gonna free up your time? You know, maybe it's some tasks you're doing in your business that you're just like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm gonna hire somebody to do it. I was talking with a couple yesterday, who I think is right here in the front row actually, who said they're still pretty much doing everything in their business, and they have a successful business, and but they're still doing everything. I think customer service, is that right? And everything else. And so it's like, at some point, unless you just love doing it, you wanna stay in touch with your customers. Charles, by the way, who's maybe listening to this, he's backstage, he doesn't do our customer service, but he's really fanatical about customer service, which is great. I think that's the right way to be. So he gets, I think, literally every customer service email goes into his inbox, but it's just as like a spot check for him. Like somebody else is checking it and whatnot. He just gets them so he can kind of see what's going on. He said maybe there's like a few a day or a few a week that he kind of is like, hey, like what's going on here? This seems like a problem. And so if you do that, that's totally fine. But as far as like requiring yourself to check it, somebody else should be doing that stuff when the time is right. I think a good test, and I actually heard somebody else mention this, another author in a book, but I'd already thought of it myself, is like, you should be able to step away from your business for a month, and it works perfectly fine. Nothing goes down. Maybe it's a little harder to like keep it growing because you're the entrepreneur who's pushing and stuff, but ideally you should be able to step away for a month, not check your phone, not check your email, not check Slack, any of that kind of stuff, and your business should still work fine. So take a few minutes right now and write down at least 3 to 5 things you can start saying no to. Either things you know are a complete waste of time, or side projects and whatnot that you're like, this is not really gonna pan out, or potentially tasks in your business that you know you should probably, it's time to delegate and hand off. So we'll spend a couple minutes, because this is gonna help free up some of the time. So it's not just adding extra stuff to your plate. I find this is like an interesting principle in life that not enough people talk about, is everyone wants to tell you to add stuff, add this, add that. Eventually you can't really add any more stuff. You gotta start peeling away things. I think it's almost just as powerful to take stuff away sometimes than to add more stuff, to say no rather than to say yes, because eventually you just run out of time. So take a couple minutes, write down a few things you're going to attempt to start saying no to. So